ladies and gentlemen. Hello. Like I told you guys. Last week I said it's going to be a surprise. And voila. We're together, me and my brother.
Brother from another mother. It's been a long time coming.
How's Belfast? We're recording from Belfast today, that's where we are right now.
Yeah, I'm so glad my brother came here. It's been a while, the journey from Glasgow, Paisley. Ayrshire.
From Ayr.
Paisley, Glasgow.
And now,
and now Belfast.
So, when maybe the next episode will be probably in Bristol or...
Cuts to the sponsorship of Jambo Radio.
Jambo Radio.
So, guy George, do better.
Taking us, just take us round. Let's do the recording. Yeah. So today, we have a very interesting episode. Honestly, like a very interesting episode because my brother is coming out with something really very big, really very big. I think he's a writer. He's done various pieces, but this is a landmark piece that he just did. And honestly, I think it's a book you all need to get. I'm not just saying because he's my brother, but it's something you need to get. Man has a lot of thoughts he has put on paper. It's this Heavens of Immortals. The title is really is really catchy, and looking at only the front cover alone is like, you see, are we going to heaven is it where God is, or which of the heavens are we talking about? Well, it's something else. And on today's episode, we are going to just do a little book review. It's a special episode, so we're going to be reviewing this book for the next couple of minutes and just looking at the book. And it's the fact that as a writer, you have been exposed to quite a number of, because I believe writing, I'm not a good writer though, but I could write a little. I believe your environment has a way of affecting your thought process when you come to writing, if I'm right, because you've been exposed to a variety of cultures and a variety of backgrounds. And that's what 3,000 Miles is all about, the juxtaposition of culture and everything. You've been able to marry cultures together to come up with a piece that reflects your current approach to life, your current thinkings. What do you, first of all, before we go into the book, I'll just ask you a few questions. What do you think really inspired this book, Heavens of Immortals?
Well, to be quite honest, first, before I answer the question, I want to say a big thank you to you.
Thank you, my brother.
And the reason is, I've considered myself blessed ever since our path crossed. And your thoughtfulness to do this special edition session for the purpose of my book review. To be quite honest, it's a big thing for me.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you. And Heavens of Immortals. To be quite honest with you, I was watching Tyler Perry's stage drama the other day.
Yeah. And
Tyler Perry said something during his My Dear Christmas on stage, and while he was just joking, and he said he was joking about something related to Christendom, and he said God must have a good sense of humor, and the other person said, you think so? He said, yes, I know so because he made me. Then something struck in me that from what he says, some people would find it offensive that why are you using the thing of faith to play and all, but I've not seen God send thunder down to strike Tyler Perry or people that have actually tried to maintain, their creativity, their gifts in line with, their faith. So I sat down and I'm like, then creativity has no limit. That is the word that came, to my mind.
Yeah.
How about I tell tales that it's actually, imaginative, it's fiction, but it's in line. Then Heavens of Immortals came to my mind that, okay, I want to write a story before the creation of man, before the creation of heaven and earth, what actually transpired between the angels, Lucifer, and what led to Yahweh creating humans and all. And I felt like, yes, if we could have tales and movies like Immortals, there's a movie called
Immortals. I've seen the movie Immortals. To talk about the gods and everything. Even though they were not there, it's fiction. You could do something.
Yeah, and we've seen movies that actually praises Poseidon, the god of the sea, Apollo, Zeus, and
all that, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, fine, I'm a Christian. Why can't I write something in line that is actually fiction, but at the same time, people read and find it interesting? I'm like, oh, this is striking.
I give it honestly. The truth about this is because, to be honest, we watch movies about immortals, I've seen gods of Egypt and all that, and it gives you a reflection of, oh, is this how? Even though they are fiction, but you tend to want to like get leanings to a little bit of understanding of what the Egyptian culture was like, the gods they had and all that. So definitely they had those gods, but I don't think they were staying among men all looking like, because if it was gods of Egypt, you could say at some point the gods could be human size and sometimes they turn into giants and all that. So
to buttress on that, if you read the book the poem Paradise Lost by John Milton actually wrote in line of Christianity. In that poem, he talked about after the fallen angels came, they created a place called Pandemonium. Pandemonium is where even if you're a demon, no matter how big how your shape is, once you come into that Pandemonium, you become like a human being. You change your form. So you could see that is someone we've never read in the Bible anything that looks like that. But that is, someone driving to a point home using fiction. So I know there are a lot of questions in the Bible that we also try to ask our pastor. We also try to question, okay, like an example is when God casted Cain, he was a vagabond. Where were those tribe he met? How did they come about when it was Adam and Eve? So all I've done is I've tried in my own way, creative way, to bring logic into some question like, okay, fine, sin. So I made sin a bigger demon than Lucifer.
Yeah.
In this book, it will blow your mind, but you need to first know that it's a fiction. Have an open mind, love creativity before you read it. Before you say, oh, it's blasphemous, and it's a creative work of it's a fiction. But at the same time, it is a book that will convince you because it is far from absurdity. That's
nice. So let's jump straight into it. I'm seeing something here, like a little bit of an inscription. It says, Heaven of Immortals in Dimeji's usual charismatic manner is written in lucid and yet fascinating language.
Yeah.
It's just something, I'm looking at this right now and I'm thinking I need to jump on this. Because to be honest to you, for me, I'm this kind of person, I don't read many books. Was even right from my years. My dad he always had issues with me when it comes to reading books, because I tell him, I say, apart from academic books, I don't. I was talking to someone I was coming on the plane, and I said the only book I've read judiciously, three set of books I've read judiciously, aside from academic books. The first one was the Harry Potter series. From book 1 to the book 7, I read it all.
And you see, Harry Potter aligns with what we call magical realism.
Exactly.
Just like Merlin. Can you see?
So people like, so there was magic in the UK back then. So even people still think because after Harry Potter, they created a platform in King's Cross. If you've been to King's Cross, there's a platform called 9 3/4, which was the platform. And people still think you can get a train from there. It's a place in King's Cross. You see 9 3/4.
That is the power of a good story.
That's the power of a good story, honestly.
And that is J.K. Rowling. Big shout out to J.K. Rowling. Is one of the big writers. She's in Scotland. I hope she lives in Edinburgh.
Yeah. So I heard.
Yeah. So now the thing is, lucid. I want to comment on lucid, which is my style. And right. you see, she said usual charismatic manner. You said something that you reading. I understand, but I know that our people love what is called story. Yeah. Because what we have indebted in our own culture is an oral tradition. If I start to tell you a story right now, it is so pertinent to you that if I tell you that, do you know, we've been talking before we even came over. You could see the way I was so attentive. I was picturing everything. So I want that, features to reflect in my writing. So I had to be so simple as much as possible. So I believe I'm one of those writers that once you can summon the courage to read a line out of my work, trust me, you'll be spellbound. I made it so simple and so attractive that I want also to encourage the reading culture.
The reading culture, yeah. That's really very good, because to be honest, sometimes people like, because for me, I like a personalized reading experience. That was one thing J.K. Rowling gave me. So when I was reading those books, I could read Dickie Rowling's books and see myself in the story. Like I could visualize what I'm reading because of the style. So like I said 3 books I've read. That's the only book. That's the book I've read. Then the other 2 books I've read, they're like motivational books. So I was able to read Gifted Hands by Ben Casey. Then there was a book by Brian Tracy. I think it's on the time management. Time management.
I know Brian Tracy.
So those were the only time management. My dad had to force me to read it. Well,
it's going to be 4 now.
Enjoying it.
It's gonna
Sure. I'm definitely gonna, because the truth about this period I've been on loads of travel, so this is a good way to read. I'm going back to Glasgow via the
train.
Not the train.
Ferry.
I'm using the ferry, so I have enough time on my hand to really go through the book. So, for those of you who don't know, this is the writer of the book, Dimeji. For those of you who don't know his full name, his name is Dimeji Sodeke, and I'm Sodeke. Sorry, don't mind me.
It's okay.
I'm trying to be English with your name. So, I need to just give you a brief about him because you might not know him. Personally, I might not know him from 3,000 miles. He spans more than 3,000 miles. This man has a lot. He has working experience. He's worked with the Oni of Ife. Worked in the media team with Oni of Ife. He's also been on the representative board. Traveled, gone to the UNESCO Leadership Summit in Egypt. Shook hands with President of Egypt. Rode on a yacht, the presidential yacht. So he's not a small man.
Those are good old times, you know.
So he's a Pan-African, he's a revolutionary. When you see somebody who is really very articulate, because to be honest, somebody, when I met him, I'm trying to sing his praise. When I met him, I knew I had a couple of people I met during my time in school. So it was at the time I was leaving school, that was when he was just starting his program. But it was somebody I could single out of all the other people I met, or somebody I said, this guy is very articulate, he's very vibrant, and he's somebody who really aligns with my thought process. And that's me for you. I tend to associate people who align with thought process and are very creative with that. He's somebody who is really very, very creative, and he puts his all to the work. So he also has his own podcast, Street Cathedral. You should join that on Instagram. I was with you guys yesterday. I jumped in for a few minutes and I listened in. So he's somebody who's traveled. He's exposed. So when we talk about writers who are exposed, and one more thing I didn't tell you. During Wole Soyinka's last birthday, I think it was 90 years.
90
So
years. It's this year.
This year, he was one of. There was a Wole Soyinka dedicated prose.
Collection of books, essays.
Prose, essays, poetry, and everything. And he was one of the contributing writers to that body of work. So you see, this is somebody who has written. It's one of his other books that has a very good title, The Gods of My Mother and Father.
Gods of My Parents. Actually, that's my first book. That's my first.
The Gods of My Parents. That's his first book, and that's the one I remember most because initially when we got to know, that was the first thing to say. I have a book called The Gods of My Parents. I say, your parents. The next thing that crossed my mind, your father is savage. I mean, like a father, they worship. So we'll really I'll take I'll read a few things from I'll just read to you guys for those of you listening.
And maybe the chapters, just to wait.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to read the forward.
Okay.
I'll just whet your appetite because I know if you just tell you the whole story, so that you go and read the book. I'm going to read a few things. I'll read the forward, then I will pick a couple of things and read, and then we'll talk about it. But let me start with the forward. I hope I'm still a good reader. I used to read that here. Let me see if I can still read. But let me look through the appreciations. You don't appreciate me. I lost my only your beautiful wife. I see you. To my beautiful wife, Debbie.
I said my friend. Of course.
All of us did the same WhatsApp. We did this WhatsApp group. That's nice. So let's jump in the forward. The biblical story of John and his presence on the island of Patmos for the revelation of God's word would readily come to mind while reading Dimeji Sodeke's Heavens of Immortals. So, for those of you who are Christians, sorry, for those of you who read the Bible, because I know a lot of Muslims who have read the Bible too, not just Christians, and I know Christians who have gone through the Quran.
I'm one of them.
You're one of them. I'm sitting with one of them. When you read the book of Revelations, it's like a scary movie. To be honest, if I'm trying to bring it down to Gen Z language, the book of Revelation is like watching a scary movie, because you have a beast with 4 heads, you have the fire, you have the animal with 3 horns, so you see a lot of different kind of beasts which you naturally imagine seeing a beast with 4 heads. You will not, it's not what you see on a natural day. So this is like horror tales. You understand? So imagine now bringing Revelation into modern palace in Gen Z format. So that's exactly what this book is bringing. So those stories you see in the Bible, those things, but I've seen a movie, but I don't think it was properly done. The book of I think it was the book of Eli or something. It was a new book. It was about an adaptation of Jesus Christ, Jesus as a black man. I'm trying to think of the name. I saw it some months back.
I've not seen it.
I saw it. You need to see the movie, but it was good, but they portrayed Jesus in another light. So they had they had a real Jesus. So they had this guy who was portraying himself as Jesus Christ.
You mean the guy from America that was okay? No, that's not a black guy. It was a white guy.
No, this guy's black.
Messiah. That title.
After now, I will Google the movie and I'll tell you about it, because I watched it. So it gave you an understanding of from another, because most of the time, most of this, I've seen a lot of Bible stories recreated, the story of Moses and all that, but they are always created from an epic perspective. So imagine recreating those in modern palace. So that's exactly what he said. The book says it gives you that idea, but in more, lucid terms. Sodeke's encounter in a separate world and realm, as encapsulated in this masterpiece, is a combination of intellectualism with spirituality, science, philosophy, and mysticism. The book is one that would appeal to the highly developed mind. So that's a warning. If you know your mind is not really developed, this is a warning.
Can I turn the do not disturb, so that we don't have an obstruction call?
All right. You could do that.
Okay, I just want to be sure we're not. Did I come late to the party? It's still recording, but let's.
We could jump in. Right. So it's why I like the fact that it's because the truth is, when Christians tend to be a little bit closed-minded. Sorry, I'm a Christian, but the moment they see something being portrayed, they are always really very icky with things. For example, like when you said when what's his name? Tyler Perry said Jesus must have a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
I know there are people who won't take it from a point of understanding, because they feel, why will you say my God has a sense of humor? I understand people who tend to be fanatics in terms of not wanting to look at things from an open mind. They're just really very narrow-minded. So for those people, this is a warning. This book is not for you. Because you might end up reading the book and say, this man who write this book, this man is Christian self. Yes. He's a strong MFM member in the choir. And for somebody to be in MFM, you understand that part. Let's go on. The book is one that would appeal to highly developed minds, like I said, as it is aptly stated in the first chapter. It will take the deep to deeply understand mystery. Deep collect onto deep.
Yeah.
The first striking thing about the book is its title, which would have made it a giveaway, as heaven is truly a place for the immortals. But beyond this seemingly ordinary title is hidden a somewhat complex string of narratives, of experience, of a man in not just a dream or trance, but one who has been transformed into another realm of a higher spiritual dimension. So bro, you were like Paul. Paul said I was in the spirit when the Lord carried me. So you were in the spirit when the Lord carried you.
Well,
Right?
Yeah, I could answer this in the Christian circle in a different way.
Yeah.
But on the general spectrum, I want people to know that it's a creative work of art.
Yeah.
So people don't try
to spiritualize it. So it's coming more from your creative vein than from the spiritual angle. But the spiritual angle gave you some level of balance.
Definitely. Yeah. But if you look at it, one is superior to another. But that's subject to discussion.
That's a subject for another day. Yeah. All right. The style with which the book is written and structured is uncommon. It is so structured in a unique way such that can make each of the chapters stand on their own and still connect to the central theme of the book. This is a confirmation of the belief that there is no cut and dried way of writing or structuring a book. To be honest, I'm not into the book yet, but I'm already seeing a series from the book. Honestly, I'm already seeing a movie series from the book.
I have a confession to make. Whenever I write, I'm writing all my books. I'm actually writing it that someday
it will get adapted for TV.
Yeah.
But I think we should work on that. I think I'll speak to a couple of people to
please
read this
I would
book
appreciate
to see can it be adapted for TV. I'll speak to. That's for story for camera, for off camera. As free as art is, so is creativity. This is what Dimeji Sodeke exemplifies in this pseudo-Christian book. I like you to call it pseudo-Christian book. Sorry for my language. I must have been speaking this sometimes. The author's background as a Christian or student of the Bible is evident in his numerous references to the Holy Book. His discussion of the character of Jesus, angels, Adam, Lucifer, Noah, David, Joseph, and his explanation of stories and events in the Bible are clear indication of his knowledge of not just the Bible, but also the doctrines of Christianity. You should have seen our church the one as a cathedral boy, All right, let's move forward. However, the book is not all about the happenstance in a fictitious heaven or solely about Bible and its characters, but a deeper illustration of the happenings in the spiritual realm. Bro, am I getting dyslexic?
What?
Am I becoming dyslexic?
No, I don't think so.
Because I don't know. My pronunciation this evening is
might just be because you are you feel from
maybe I'm still jet lagged.
Yeah.
It would then be a misnomer to put the multifaceted book in a cocoon and label it as a Christian book. So disclaimer, this is not a Christian
book. Exactly.
So that's what the truth is. The person who wrote this forward is a PhD holder. So some of the English is strong, well. By God's grace, I'm a PhD holder too. So, but some of the this are old PhD holder. I mean, I'm the young one. The older ones, they have the stronger. We will use Jersey English for our. I wrote my thesis. I wrote a paper I gave to one of my lecturers where he wanted to write when I was just wrapping up my PhD, and he called me. He said, "This is your paper now, Jersey English. You can write it." And I laughed. So back to it. So don't label it as a Christian book because it's not a Christian book. It has elements of Christianity in it, but it's more of a creative fiction. Drawing leanings from the Bible, from doctrinal experiences, and from creativity and all that. So it's a combination of. It's just putting everything into one capsule. So there are lots. When you take in that capsule, it's just like one capsule that cures headache, cures back pain, cures HIV, cures infection, cures everything in one. They sell it in. Have you bought those kind of drugs in Nigeria? This one, they cure everything. So that just see this book like that. It's a book that has an input for everything. So it is much more than this, than a Christian book. It is rather a creative work that discusses a couple of subjects, ranging from creation to science, to religion, to philosophy, to thoughts of man, the complexity of life, and mysticism. I caught it before. Why am I saying it? Mysticism. The cross of the book is for the reader or readers to know and come to terms with the fact that there are many ways to the market of life. Jesus, this touched me now. This man is hitting all the right chords. Creation of life and the makeup of a man as a creative being. The book is also a search into the soul of man with the use of first-person narrative style. For those of you who don't have narratives, don't know what that is. There's what we call in writing. I did a little bit of literature, so I can say something. I'm an authority in this area. We have what we call the first-person narrating technique. We have the third-person narrating technique, and we have the omniscient style of writing. Am I still correct?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not wrong. I did small literature. Mr. Patrick will be proud of me. That was my literature teacher. He was so hard on me. But I failed. To be honest, I failed literature. From S1 to S3, I was failing it because the problem why I was failing literature, not that I couldn't do literature, but I was just too lazy to read the books.
I think it depends on how you whet the appetite of the students. You are supposed to create a rider, a suspense, for them to be eager to read the book. That's the way you encourage them.
I don't know, because I had people who were reading the books, because we had a lot of poems. We had a poem by Ulysses. We did Ulysses. We did what was this other books? We did how am I forgetting? We did a couple of Wallin
Odyssey, Iliad by Homer. Odyssey.
Then we did the Test of D'Urberville. We
Yeah.
did a couple of all these texts.
Test of D'Urberville.
Yeah, we did. Then we did the Merchant of Venice.
Mayor of Castlebridge.
No,
Yeah.
I think we did Mayor. So we had those were books people. So they did this. We did this night. There was this Nigerian book we did that talked about. I think it was about the civil or something like that.
I remember.
Then there was one by we did a couple of Wole Soyinka's
Of course.
works.
You have to pass through.
We did Wole Soyinka's works. Then we did some of Chinua Achebe's works.
Of course.
We did a couple of his works too. So, but I wasn't reading. That was the problem. So I wouldn't read the text. And you know the exam is all about, literature exams are all about what's the theme of this play, write about the character or so and all that. But I couldn't because I don't know who that character is, honestly. So what I was doing now was I was just copying people's works. But I realized that when I was wanted to write my work, I knew my life depended on this literature. I had no choice. I took all.
But to be honest, I'm not saying this because you're here. We are all storytellers, but we tell our stories from a different angle. To me, I'm not flattering you. I've met a lot of people that handle camera. The way you tell stories with your camera, I swear, is different. Do you know that the picture you took me and the video you took me are still my profile picture till now? The one you took me while I was being interviewed.
Way back, yeah.
That was you telling a story, and I love it. You tell good stories with the camera. I think if I'm going to, in the future, by God's will, have a Netflix big break, and I want you to be on set, camera, angle and all, because we are all telling stories where my own strength stops. It is all these things we have to, and I love it. You tell good stories with the camera. I think if I'm going to, in the future, by God's will, have a Netflix big break, and I want you to be on set, camera, angle and all, because we are all telling stories where my own strength stops. It is all these things we have to harness together to tell a beautiful story. I don't have that your storytelling capacity in that angle. You can interpret all these and say, you know what, Dimeji, you just leave your imagination now. Let us put it to camera. This is how we're going to tell the best story.
Well, that's the truth. So we're able to interpret stories like this with angles, shots, camera movement, and all that.
And you do it better than me, because whatever in my imagination, you can bring it on. I'm like, Baba, I didn't say that to my book, but this, I like it.
So that's the truth. So because you said, the person comes into a room and says something. So how do we bring the person? That's the question. How do we bring the person into the room? It's a story, because you can't just walk.
It's a different story.
It's a different story. That's the truth. We have to always understand strengths and weakness. And the truth is, let's finish. Let's not digress too much. We'll come back. All right. This book is also a search into the soul of man with the use of the first person narrative style from the point of view of the author. The inner being of the author can be seen and his seal is identified. The book is a metaphor of sorts and an intra-personal battle of a man. For those of you who don't know what intrapersonal means, because you're like interpersonal between two people, intrapersonal within. So it's an interpersonal personal battle. So he's fighting within himself. Maybe his spirit is fighting against his body or the soul of a man who's trying to find the true meaning of life and the subject of appearance versus reality. When I read that line at the true meaning of life, I always do something all the time. I have this friend of mine. Anytime she sees me, she calls me and it's like, how are you doing? What are you doing? I say, well, what do you think? She was like, what are you thinking? I say, I'm thinking about the essence of life. So anytime I just call her, she goes, what are you doing? I say, I'm thinking. You could say about the essence of life. I can say, yeah. So back to the author, a brilliant young man. He's not so young though. Don't let the book deceive you.
I claim to be young.
The man is nearing his 40s.
He's still young.
He's gradually carving a niche and identity for himself as a non-conventional writer whose style is different and who is riding on the back of creativity on a journey to the world of mysticism, where he is making it difficult to be placed either in the world of mystic or in the world of the living. So this man is just he cannot be placed in a box. In essence, that's what this place is saying. All told, every matured mind that is dispassionate about religion would have something new to pick from this book. That is why I am wholeheartedly recommending it to the class of the matured minds who are desirous of understanding nature, creation, and the cosmic world. So, my brother, this book was not written for the layman.
Yeah. Professor Wole Soyinka always say that his book are not for idiots, that he writes for the intelligent people. Well, mine is that I'm writing for the free-minded people. I'm not using esoteric word. I do not have, that linguistic repertoire like Professor Wole Soyinka has. But what I want is someone who is not, boxed into the confines of, like Wizkid said, he said he's not an Afrobeat artist. I subscribe to that ideology because this is people trying to dictate and limit his reach, his prowess. So that is what I also don't want in my craft. I want to explore. The creativity is an ever-flowing river, according to Oslo. It has no end. So if creativity has no end, has no limit, why are you trying to box me into the Christian book or mysticism? So you just have to come and understand that this book is going to shift your mindset. Every of my writing. As a matter of fact, my second book, which we will title Dwelling in the Belly of the Beast, that book actually has some raw languages and life of a commoner in Nigeria, internet fraudster, many things in the book. And you know where I took the book to write forward? Dr. Tunde Bakare, Pastor Tunde Bakare. And I was trying to test something about my prowess, about my gift. It's just like I sang a song. You are good. People are telling you are good. Baba, it is until you now go and meet Beyonce, you send your copy to Beyonce, you are waiting for the reply. Something is in your mind. Beyonce has actually gone. She's vast in music. How would you feel when Beyonce come back and say, yeah, I want to jump on this beat? Now. You hold the crown like I'm good.
You've arrived. Honestly.
So that was what happened on my second, my second writing. Dr. Tunde Bakare actually wrote, forwarded the book. Just like thank you to Dr. Chris Omotosho as well. Dr. Tunde Bakare to thank you. And at that point, I knew that I was special. Even though the ghost of my parents has gone wild, that book actually pushed me into the world. But my second book was me now trying to look myself in the mirror of truth. So when I produced this book, I had sent it out to some people that I know that they are critical about religion and they don't want to lay their hands. As a matter of fact, I sent this to Professor Wole Soyinka to write forward. He would have preferred to write a forward on Oniluwo, the one the one I published while I was in school. He would have, because that was a culture. He likes cultural things. Yeah. This, because of his own faith, and I'm so sure maybe he took 2 steps back and all, but we had that conversation. And also, I had another person too I sent this to. He also preferred the play. But you prefer my play, you don't prefer it. It's still my work. Like, you don't understand. It's just like you like my track. You like track 1. of my body of work, you don't like track 3. Bro, you like one of my work, I'm still good.
No, what I feel it shows the dexterity of writing, because for me, I observe most writers. So there are writers who just I'm not saying they have similar thing, but their writings are just styled in a particular way. They're writing towards this line. But for a writer who can touch, you can write fiction, you can write mystery books, you can write crime books. Like someone like Dan Brown is focused on, is a mystical writer. Focused on, that is his, you see all his books is written Angels and Demons, and all those are gone with. Then you see another popular writer I know, who write loads of other, I'm trying to think of a writer now, who write loads of, you see some writers are basically just crime dramas. So, but for a writer who has the spectrum to be able to write something on this area, which is accepted by this set of people, write in this area, which is accepted by this, it shows, like you said, creativity is an unending river.
Yes.
What brought to mind, there was a time I was working in a studio. We had like a studio show. So there was this particular shot I was trying to make. I knew the only way I could make that. I thought about all in my head to make that shot. I knew making that shot from a particular angle was really very difficult. I tried. I was like, how do I do this movement? Because I had to pan, I had to zoom at the same time. And I was trying, and I had this senior camera operator, and he came to me. He said, do you know that there are a lot of ways to kill a rat? I said, sir, I've tried all the ways. I don't think there's another way to get this shot. Then he took the camera, he took the pad, and then he dropped it to the ground level. And he said, okay, look at the shot from there, what are you getting? And I was like, wow. I never thought about it was just as simple as
that.
Dropping. So, because I had to get the shot was from like a low angle. So I was thinking of going in, then tracking up, but he just said, drop it down, tilt the camera up, and that was the shot.
Wow.
So easy. So it shows you how creativity is so wide.
Yeah.
You can tap and tap and tap into the well, and it doesn't finish.
Yeah.
It just takes your mind to really open up things. And one thing I will tell you, like what I've said is, for those of us who have been able to get the best of both worlds, this is me coming to 3,000 miles. It has a way it has helped us.
Yes.
Like me, for example, I came from a background where I'd worked in a bank, done a couple of other jobs. I'd even worked in collaboration with a studio in Nigeria. I was doing photography, doing videography and all that. But when I came here, I got to see another side of that level of creativity. And I was speaking with someone this morning, and he said, staying in Nigeria has a disadvantage. I said, see, let me tell you the truth. I will tell you something for a fact. Yes, to be honest, when they born you for Nigeria, you don't handicap you 2 goals. Life, they win you 2-0. Once they born you. But there are things you can, like I told him, I said, the skill I'm enjoying today,
those things you learn,
those things I was able to pick up. That's why, for those of you who are planning to come to the UK, I always tell you, bro, learn a skill.
Yeah.
Don't just come and say, I have my degree. To be honest.
And I appreciate the fact that, I'm sorry to cut, I appreciate the fact that you opened this conversation. 3,000 miles, both anchor host, I always say it is K's initiative. I'm just so fortunate that K found me worthy enough to jump on this idea. Very brilliant idea. You could see K is a very fantastic camera guy, and he's told his story. Now, K, last Champions League final, K was part of the shooting crew on that. As K, we're speaking right now in Belfast, K came for the purpose of camera shooting, but we still find a way to still shoot this, to maneuver. That is creativity. Yep. We're using phone to maneuver. Creativity is used you can't tell a creative person that this can't be done.
No, there has to be.
We don't take no for answer.
There has to be a way to
there has
get
to be a
around
way.
it, honestly.
And I've been thinking about a story, and the funny thing about creativity, my brother, is that creativity will prepare you for the right opportunity at the right time.
Very correct. Very,
Once-
very correct.
Once you position yourself right, we don't know where 3,000 miles is leading us, but don't be surprised that we will jump on BBC. We might jump on.
No, see, no matter, I tell you, I say no matter how hard, we must find a way to get this program every week out, any way, anyhow, because you never can tell what will happen. Like when you talk about opportunity, when I started, before I started working as a camera operator, done SPFL, done Champions League, done loads of studio shows as camera assist, as camera operator and everything. When I was doing my small videography back, I started doing photography full-time and videography in 2017. That's just how many years ago?
Like, let's just say top in 20, because we're in 2024.
Yeah, that's
17, okay, 2017.
2017. That's 7 years ago.
7 years.
When I started that, honestly, I had this passion to do, because I remember way back when I was doing my service, I told my dad I wanted to go into photography. So I had small money. I got small digital camera then. So I had a guy who I was appealing to help me teach me how to do Microsoft edit on Photoshop and all that. So he showed me a few things. I had a small camera I bought, which I was taking pictures with, but the dream didn't really materialize there.
Then
I worked in a bank, did all that stuff. Then when I got the opportunity, I met a lady, Mercy, Photography Studio. Big shout out to you when you see this. I met her. I followed her online. We're friends on Facebook. She happened to attend same university with me. She was way younger than me. I'd left my department before she got in and all that. So it was like weird. But for some reasons, Facebook has a way of giving you mutual friends you had, and we added up. We never talked on Facebook. But I see when she posts pictures and all that. Then it was at night I met her. How I was able to recognize her at night on a busy road. I walked past her and I was like, I've seen this face before. Immediately the name stopped. It was divine. Because like I always say, I'm going spiritual, and God has a way of positioning you for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
He knows, okay, this opportunity will help this man in the future. I will position him. How I was able to recognize her that night. See, today she asked me, how did you know it was me? I'm like, I just knew.
I'm sorry, I don't want to forget this. Yeah. If you know how tough it is in this UK, you know everything you are hearing about complaints of people here, we are facing it. The excuse to fail, we have it before us. But something drives us together. You see, he said something the other time, he said something that he singled me out. I think it is because of the energy that we have that attracted each other. And how do I know? Look, we are still together.
Of course.
Many people that we knew, one way or the other, they've gone back to the common life of, we are struggling for this, we are looking, but we are still into that together and still finding a way to do. Now, my point is this. A lot of people keep asking, why do you keep writing and all? It's a journey. Creativity is a journey.
Of course.
When you limit your creativity to financial gain, now I'll go spiritual now, just like you went. The parable of the talents. The gain was never financial gain. It would, and you know the funny thing about, that's why I said, the funny thing about it is that we that were working on our God-given talent, it is said that we will collect from those that are not working on theirs, we do that, and give to those ones that are working on theirs. Yeah. So that's why K, on this journey of camera, K will just find it that, I can set up something business. K will just realize that we can have a media, Dimeji, we can have a media school, a media photography school. K will just realize that, we can write to Sony and we can be an ambassador to Sony cameras and all. All these things will come in line of creativity. I'm just assuming. Before you know it, K will say, I have a link to go and shoot a movie in Hollywood. Things will happen, and maybe some people came to shoot movies and they're just looking for characters and everything, an African character. K will like, I can't do it, but I know someone
who can.
If I call him, he's going to jump on this. I don't want him to lose. And that is it. And boom, they will say we are the next big thing in Africa. But people don't want to go back to those procedures that led
process. That's
led to that big thing.
That's the bottom line.
We can't skip the sacrifice.
You can't skip the process. So, like I was saying, you can't skip the process, like you just said. Because when I eventually met her, we started talking. Honestly, initially, the worry boy in me wanted to say, this is a babe.
Of course,
this is a working class babe.
Every guy, when I jag one time.
It's a working class babe. I think somebody, this one not going to bill me. But I came to realize that, bro, this is more than just having a babe. This is somebody who can really impact my life. So we started off. I told her, okay, I like to learn. I've had this passion for years to do this. Would you give me an avenue to do it? And I started off. She had a boyfriend there. Do you know what the boyfriend said? The boyfriend said, it was later the boyfriend was telling me what he said. He told us, this guy old man. Now I won't call your studio, call your photography. So not be you won't call chase. That was exactly what the guy said. And I like, because it's sometimes it's something you don't see happen, that you see somebody in Africa, a man when don't advance, I don't see money, can't learn other ones.
And that is passion speaking. You said something, and our brothers also, we have to learn to fail forward. And it is that your passion that I want to believe that, just to edit, to cut the long story short, you've had many instances where you failed, but your passion keep driving you back.
I've failed a lot of times. I'll tell you that I've done things where I feel, man, it's like I'll just pack my bags and look for another.
Bro, let me tell you something now. I was telling someone the other time that my first book, when I published my first book, personally, I'm a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist. So I looked into the book, I saw some mistakes, I slammed the book on the floor. I felt like the world is actually laughing at me, making mockery of me. That I've actually made a fool out of myself. Why? Why have I done this to myself? And I came to Facebook even to apologize to everybody. I'm serious. But do you know God? Do you know the president of Egypt, when I was actually being interviewed, and I could see it from those people interviewing me, they were already getting scared. It was until I brought that book out and said, you wrote the book? And I said, yes. That book was the reason why I was called. Cutting the president of Egypt. So I told someone that, would I rather be paid when you value everything to money? Because would you rather be paid financially, or you like God to add value to everything you do? Exactly. So if you feel that whatever talent you've got, you just have to keep going, because it is not just financial. I understand we're in a crazy world.
Well, you need money, but don't equate your talent to just don't limit it to finance, because the truth is you could have a talent and something can push that talent to the next level. Yeah. And the next thing you know, you're making so much from that talent. No, when you talked about your first book, like sometimes I go back, I review some of my old videos I took way in 2019, 2020, and I'm like, I'm watching the video and I'm like, you know that feeling of, I'm taking a clip and I'm like, bro, this is not, take this shot. I'm talking to myself of 2019.
Like, no, you were not supposed to take this.
No, this is nowhere. But it's just, there's always that phase to life. Because nobody was born a genius. Yeah. There's always that growth. Yeah. That's why the only thing that I frown people at is when you don't grow. That's when I frown. Yeah. But once, even if there's baby steps.
And the happy thing, and now this is me now speaking faith. I know we are rounding up. This is me speaking faith into both our lives, and even 3,000 miles street and cathedral. You as a cameraman here, if we look at our journey so far and right now, I believe we can take over this land. I was speaking to someone the other day. My next book, I've been writing a couple of books. I was writing Billy Kisu Sungbo, and I had to drop that because I felt like. Then I started writing Ghost of Belfast. Before I realized that they've actually fought war here. You know what that ministered to me, whispered into my ear? That topic will sell out. Okay, what will be the content? I can't touch their history. I know how people can be about history.
I'm not very touchy with their history.
So I'm not from the land. Okay, how about I tell the truth about immigrants? Are we not ghosts in the land here? Are we not shadows of our former selves? Literally, I can call it. Then, do you know, I now realize that there are many, unresolved crime rates here. High unresolved crime rates here. And one that was topping it is the guy called, a boy called Trevor. He was actually dumped into a dungeon. Until date, they don't know who killed that boy. And it was someone I was just talking to that told me that I'm writing the story of what really happened here. And I'm just telling you a title of a story of Ghost of Belfast, an African that came here. Because I knew they believe in ghosts. If you remember in William Shakespeare, Hamlet, when the father died, someone came to go and call Hamlet that the father's ghost was waiting for him. So I knew. So we believe in ghosts in Africa. That was where. No, I'm trying to go somewhere. We believe ghosts in Africa. They believe ghosts here. So I'm trying to write something Ghost of Belfast where we have commonality of
of thoughts, yeah.
Of thought. And someone is telling me that I'm writing a true story. Then, could you see what creativity you could just jump out and say, you just want to take this picture, Could you know that you could just be taking the picture and someone will just say, I like the way you take it, and that will be your big shot. You take that person's picture and you don't know how big that person is. The person tells you,
And
take
then
my car. And that is it. And that is it.
Honestly, that's our life. So to wrap this up, before I touch the book and wrap up, I like to give this advice to people in the UK. I know there are loads of people in the UK who I've met guys who told me. I met one guy once who told me I'm a producer. I met one who told me I'm a director from Nigeria. My only advice for you is, I know how it is because even me working in this my field, you hardly see, especially in Scotland, you hardly see black people in my field of work. Most of the jobs I go on, part of the crew, I'm the only black person in the crew. But it's giving me an edge because everybody knows me. Even people I've not met before, they finally, are you the K we're talking about? And I'm like, I've heard about you, I've heard a lot about you. So the thing is, in as much as you need to chase, I understand you need to chase the people, because to be honest, I didn't just come in and I started doing cameras and got my big break to do work as in studio shows and sports. I started off doing my menial jobs, doing cleaning. I was a cleaner. I worked as a cleaner. I worked as a carer. I worked as a security man. I worked in a factory as an operative. I worked in where they make donuts. I worked in so I've done it all.
Everything. Yeah.
I don't clean dead body self. So I've done it all. So but in the face of all this, I still look for times to really pursue my passion.
Yeah.
So no matter how shift is overwhelming, always find a small time, because I know a lot of people who are here, they have various talents.
Yes.
Various talents which they feel they cannot propagate because they are in the UK. They have to look for care job, are looking for sponsorship. Yeah. In that search of all this, look for a little small time you have to really harness your creativity and push it out there by yourself. Thank God there's social media where you can push your things out there by yourself.
Yes.
Push out your creativity, and I kid you not, it is definitely going to pay off. Consistency is always key. I have a friend right now. He does this non-profit organization, financing and all that. He came here and he told me one thing. He said, bro, I'm going to chase what I do from Nigeria. I'm not going to look. He didn't look for any job. But his case was specular because his wife had a sponsorship. Okay. His wife was working as a doctor. He said, bro, I'm not going to look for another job. And he sat in his house with his laptop every day. And right now, he gets... He's the vice president of a fundraising organization in the US. Oh. Works in the UK. Oh. So it's just about pursuing your passion, determination. Yes. In as much as you're trying to make the bread, people from Nigeria, they cry to you. Always have that small spare time for your passion.
Yes.
Dimeji, before we go, I don't know if you have anything to say before we
all I just want to say is thank you, and I want to say that Heavens of Immortals will be officially launched October 22nd in the city of Belfast. You can follow me on Instagram. Links will be dropped. It's available on Amazon already. You can pre-order all my books. You can find it on Amazon. You can order paperback and it will be delivered to you like this. You don't have to worry. If you're in the UK, Canada, US, any part of the world, just go on Amazon, type my name, type my book, the title of the book, then it will come. You could also have it on Kindle. Those people who have
the Kindle, yeah.
Kindle, so you could order that on Kindle as well and read. To my Nigerian people, yes, my publisher will make it available. We are on the discussion of making mass publication. Right. So on the website there, you can pre-order. It will be delivered to you as well. If you want to know my favorite chapter here, I'll just read all the titles of the chapter and I'll tell you my favorite chapter. So that should whet your curiosity. So it's got 12 chapters. Actually, where are the chapters?
Fastest fingers.
Yeah, I got it. So, 12 chapters. The chapter 1 is the mandate. Chapter 2, Hell's Revolution. Chapter 3, the classical Armageddon. Chapter 4, Rebels versus Saints. Chapter 5, the creation. Chapter 6, the Heavens War. Chapter 7, the spiritual laws. Chapter 8, science. Chapter 9, another creation story. Chapter 10, the kingdom. Chapter 11, gods. Chapter 12, life. I made it 12 chapters because of the 12 disciples of Jesus Christ. So just to be symbolic. And my favorite is actually number 8, science. The reason being that a lot of research went into that, and I tried as much as possible. This book took me 3 years. You know, I kept on going back, did it. I listened to lot of preachers, lots of documentaries, lots of, and I would just go back and counsel, and so 3 years.
Well, so this work was 3 years in the making. So don't support the author.
Yeah, please.
So, like I said, 22nd of October, the book is being launched, so you can pre-order it, read it, digest it, and you can also send him feedback. Follow him on Instagram.
Yeah.
Send him feedback.
I reply.
For our viewers and listeners, it's a wonderful evening in Belfast. I can see the mountain landscape just behind me, and I think I'm ready to tour the city right now.
Yeah, so, I have a saying about Belfast, and I'll round it up. Belfast is a seductive city. It is like a naked woman in front of you.
All right.
You only have 2 options. Either you engage or you run like a coward.
So the question is, would I run or would I engage? And from Belfast, from myself, from Dimeji, big shout out to Baron, big shout out to George, big shout out to all the men behind 3,000 miles, all the people who are pulling the strings behind. I will see you guys next week, and stay blessed. Have a great week ahead.